Hey everybody, welcome back to my shop. Today we're going to turn this Natural Edge Goblet from the branch of a butternut tree. Now please note, this is not an instructional video, it is for entertainment purposes only. Your safety is your responsibility. Let's get started. So we've got our branch section mounted between centers. On this side will be the cup portion of the goblet, so we'll be very gentle with the bark here. And then we'll true up the rest of the blank, form a tenon on this side so that we can grab it in the chuck. So let's get started. Starting out at about 1500 RPM. We'll be very gentle with the cup portion. You don't want to knock that bark off. Now the bark is pretty much down to the wood, so we can now rough the rest of the shape out. Now we'll form the tenon. This butternut is very soft for a hardwood, so we're going to make sure that this is very, very cleanly cut. If you leave that fuzzy, it'll never get a good seating in the jaws. We'll clean the backside here too. Okay, let's flip her around. Okay, so now we have the piece flipped around, securely held in the chuck. Next step is to start the initial shape of the cup so that when I do the internal hollowing, I know what to kind of aim for. So again, very gentle with the bark. Now I don't want to take any more wood away than that because we need lots of wood holding here while we hollow. Before we start hollowing, I'll just true up this outside edge. Okay, we're ready to start hollowing. Okay, to hollow this thing out, I'm just going to continue using my spindle gouge, and we're just going to feed the tool in like it's a drill bit. And as it's into the wood, we're just going to move it to the side, and it'll use the bevel support to cut away the wood. So feed her in like a drill bit. And move her to the side, gently. And leave it the desired thickness that you'd like. You can't take too heavy of a cut with it overhanging the chuck that much.
If you've enjoyed the video so far, please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more in the future. Thank you.
Just going to use a round nose scraper now to clean up the bottom of the cup. Okay, we have the inside of the cup portion of the goblet completely hollowed out. Next step, we're going to finish shaping the outside so that we can sand and finish the cup portion in one shot. Now, I contoured the inside to match this outside shape, so all I have to do is continue this shape and the wall thickness should be even throughout. So let's get started with that part. I'm going to get rid of some wood out of the way. I'm going to add a little bead down at the bottom of the cup. Now we're ready to start sanding and applying the finish. Now to sand this goblet, I'm going to use long narrow strips of sandpaper. This will help me follow the inside shape of the cup and also any of the contours of the details I've put in. I can also take the sandpaper and stretch it out tight and follow long curves with it and skip across the bark without getting too deep into it. So we'll start with 220 grit, move to 320, 400, then 600. And we're not going to sand over 600 RPM. We're all done sanding, and I've taken time to wipe away all the extra dust off the surface of the wood. Now the finish we're going to put on is a Shellac Friction Polish, and I'll put the recipe to this finish in the description below. We're going to turn the lathe on nice and slow, and we're going to put a liberal amount on the wood. We're going to get the wood soaked with the finish. The finish contains both shellac and oil, so the shellac is really the finish and the oil acts as a lubricant so that the cloth doesn't stick to it while it dries. But we want to make sure that we get a good amount on in the first coat so that that surface will be sealed well right off the bat. We've got the whole surface now soaked. We have to crank the speed up. We're going to go up to about 1600 RPM and we're going to buff the surface, and the shellac will dry, and like I said, the oil will lubricate that process. It's basically the wood turner's version of a French polish. We're going to put multiple coats on, making sure that the previous coat was completely dry before we start moving on to the next coat. Yeah, I think that's what we want. Now that the cup portion of the goblet's all completed, I've brought back up the tailstock and cone center with a little piece of cloth to protect the finished surface. This is just to add a little extra support while we shape the stem portion of the goblet and its foot. So we're going to crank the lathe back on, and we're going to hog out a whole bunch of wood. Just going to use the bowl gouge to get rid of all the extra waste material. Crank that lathe speed up a little higher. 1600. I don't want to go too far and lose too much support. A little more out of the way here. Okay, I'm going to start shaping the foot now. This seems like it's a fairly good proportion, so I'm just going to do a bit of a cleanup here and not remove that much more material. Let's add actually another bead down here. Just going to take the skew chisel for cleaning up the very bottom of the foot. Okay, so all the shaping for the stem and the foot is complete. We just have to repeat the same sanding and finishing procedures as before, and then we can work on parting it off of the lathe.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Would you please comment down below what you think of this video and what might need improving? Also, if you have any suggestions for future projects you'd like to see me perform, please leave that in the comments down below as well. I'd love to make a video on it. Thank you very much.
Nice. Okay, now comes the critical moment where we either get the goblet off in one piece or all hell breaks loose and it goes flinging everywhere because I screwed it up. So, let's part this thing off the lathe and let's get it off in one piece. We're going to start the lathe back up. About 1200 RPM, 1400 RPM. And now we're going to part away some extra wood. We can take our skew chisel so we get a really clean cut on the inside. One more cut. Famous last words, one more cut. Okay, the bottom is very clean. Now we're going to reduce a little more material. Now we're going to turn the lathe speed down, down, down. And we're going to take a deep breath and take away the tailstock. Okay, she's wobbling a bit. So at this point, I'm going to reach around with my one hand to support it so it doesn't go bouncing off the tool rest. And I'm going to start using one-handed skew one-handed to part it off. I'm going to leave just a little nub of wood. I don't want to part it off too close to the base or it'll tear fibers out of the bottom. And I'll never be able to fix that. And there we go. In one piece, we just need to sand off this little nub at the bottom now. I got 220 sandpaper just chucked up in the drill chuck on one of my sanding arbors. And I'm going to use that to sand off the nub on the bottom of the cup. Now I'll finish it off with 320 and 400, just hand sanding. Last thing to do is just sign the bottom, put what year it is currently, and the type of tree it came from. So here's the finished goblet. I just finished signing the bottom and hand rubbing some finish on it. It stands about 7 inches tall, and Butternut has some striking figure throughout. It's related to walnut, and you can kind of see how. So, if you like this video, please click the like button, share it around, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos to come in the future. Thank you very much, and have yourself a great day.